I wanted to, go back in time a little bit. 10 years ago, it was 2012, late February. The North Brunswick Lady Raiders girls basketball team made it all the way to the GMC Tournament Championship game at the RAC, the Rutgers Athletic Center. You millennials will know it now as Jersey Mike's Arena. But Shaun Morrell was the head coach of that team. 103 wins he had, in his time as a Lady Raiders head coach in 9 seasons, and now the athletic director here. So wanted to catch up with him and talk a little bit about that team. I had Derva Bondari here the other day, and I'll start there. I always said the MVPs of that semifinal game against Bishop R are a tough battle. You win 53-51, and Derva with the 5 3-pointers in the first half was the co-MVP in my mind, and then Stephanie Guevara in the second half with some big free throws. We talked about this before, and I think you alluded to being the signature moment for the program. Do you still think about that game from time to time?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. There are some games that just kind of stick with you. That was certainly one. The 5 3-pointers in one half kept us in that game and gave us an opportunity. And it was just same spot, I think, for all 5 of them. So you definitely remember those. I remember the plays, end of the game, the final shot that they had, the inbound play that they ran, and how we defended it.
The Erica Gukalo shot.
Right. So I remember all of those. I remember the end of the game. I remember making defensive substitutions for sure, putting Marilyn Muldowney in for, I think, the fourth quarter because we needed a little bit of pressure and how those things worked out. So definitely do remember.
Do you, if you remember, you called a timeout late in the game, and Tariana Kelly was in foul trouble. She had 4 fouls, and during the timeout, she got up, went to the table, slapped the table like somebody was trying to rob her, and she looked determined to come back in and finish the game. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to forget Tariana Kelly when she wanted to play.
No, so I guess there was no discussion or no let's be careful, none of that.
No, she knew. I mean, she knew what was going on. Those are physical games. I mean, that was when we had some real post players, in the county. So those were, she was in there battling, but they were motivated. I mean, we knew for the years before that what our goal was, and to get to the finals and to win it all was on our list every year. It wasn't just maybe we could. It was a matter of like we could do this. So they knew it was at stake.
It's ironic. The irony is, as we're discussing this, that your opposing coach is Kevin Harper at the time at Bishop R, who's now with Middlesex. You guys, I guess you guys still, joke with each other about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we were, close together as coaches. We spoke, anytime we saw each other, we'd have lengthy conversations. I mean, he's an outstanding coach. And the time battling against Bishop R, North Brunswick Bishop R matches were incredible. And, for many years we would take our lumps, but we had a stretch there for about 4 or 5 years where we were competing, and we were able to pull up some big wins too.
2013 was the last time North Brunswick has beaten Bishop R in girls basketball. That's the Stephanie Rivera, Marilyn Muldowney, Brittany Vick group. In terms of the 2012 team, Jasmine Walker and Tariana Kelly were the D1s. They got, a lot of the attention. Derva, flew under the radar and quietly, scored 1,000 points. Did you know, at the time that, it could get to that level?
You mean for the individual players
themselves?
For
the team.
Oh, absolutely. I remember watching those kids play in middle school when we had that group down there, and there was no doubt they were very raw. Derva was a skilled basketball player as an 8th grader, very skilled. And Jasmine was a raw athlete. As we remember her freshman year, there were a lot of travels, a lot of time on the bench. I think when she was a freshman, trying to get her legs under her. But
Jasmine will love to hear that.
Yeah, she would be the first one to admit it. But from that freshman to sophomore year, what an explosion. But yeah, we knew for sure that we had some talent on that team. I think in middle school they were 24-0. And it's just it tells you something, that these kids could do something special.
Did you feel like? Do you remember? Aside from Bishop R, did you remember? Maybe South Brunswick when Derva scored the 1,000 point. Did you have a game where you won and you feel like you escaped?
Yeah, the South Brunswick game was a big one. I remember Coach Petita throwing the towel at the end, waving around his head and tossing it into the bleachers for the excitement of that. That was one. The Bishop R game that we held on to win here I think by 1 point we stalled for about 3.5 minutes. Coach Harper hated me for that. He brings that up regularly. I don't think we shot the ball for about 3.5 minutes. That was a good one. I ran Cocos Valley game for sure when we lost in the States.
All I remember about that, I remember Jasmine Walker's dad running out on the court. That's what I remember.
It was an emotional moment when they bounced the ball on the end line to inbound it with 3 seconds left or so, and they missed it. And when it hit, that should have been our ball under the basket. But we battled back in that game.
State playoff game for those listening.
State playoff game, and again, that was a huge game. Middlesex, when we lost to them down there in the states as well, that was a very winnable game, and the coach was highly complimentary. I'll never forget that, telling us that we were the best eighth seed he's ever seen. And we went down there, and we were very close to upsetting them, as I think they were the one. So, we had real opportunities, to be honest with you. We had a talented group of kids.
Final question for Shaun Morrell about the 2011-2012 Lady Raiders. You look back 10 years, later now. Anything changed for you? Do you feel like, in the 10 years that have passed since, really there hasn't been a North Brunswick team that has come close to matching that? 20 wins. Do you feel like you guys were the best team in the history of the program?
I don't know enough about the earlier portion.
There were some earlier teams with Mary Williston and such.
Yeah, but I think we were averaging 65 points a game, if I'm not mistaken, in those years. That's a lot of points to put up on average. And then, to top it off, we graduated, 3 seniors, all went to play college basketball. And the next year we went back to the semifinals, and we were 1 rebound away from going back to the finals again with players who were, 5th, 6th, 7th, on the bench and because they pushed each other. So, that was a very talented team. I would have to say it's probably the best team that you've seen here in North Brunswick.
Yeah, that semifinal against JFK lost by 4. They were undefeated going into that game.
I remember that foul, the foul call in the end on the screen. We were trying to run our Duke play and got a moving screen call, gave them the ball back, and then we watched the ball go up and we didn't rebound. We didn't block out, and they put it back, and that was it.
But you mentioned Jasmine. So how, working with her, I guess over the years, as McCargo tries a right angle 3 here, it's off the glass. Rebound goes to Middlesex, goes to Madison Rebel. Working with Jasmine, how much time did you guys put in together just to, get her where you felt like she needed to be?
Well, Jasmine put a lot of time in with her AAU team in the off season. So Coach Stone from
John Stone, yes.
John Stone from the Defenders, they really worked with her to make sure she would, pick up some things. We worked on trying to develop a pull-up jumper. I remember that, stop and pop from the elbow, things like that to control her body a little bit more. So we worked on those for sure. But she put a lot of time in the off season. It's hard to make adjustments during the season. In high school basketball, you really have to put that work in and follow your game plan in the offseason, which she did. We would review the things you need to change and focus on in the summer and hope they come back with some of those skills developed,
This year's team, is there anyone that reminds you of that team 10 years ago? Anyone individual on the floor? Maybe Niall, anybody?
It's hard to compare individual athletes. I don't like to do that. We look at someone's strengths. Of course, Niall should be hopefully the school's all-time leading scorer without a doubt.
Yes.
She should amass at 12:47 without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is a scorer. She uses the glass exceptionally well. That's the one thing I really appreciate about her, getting to the basket and her ability to finish. That was one thing that some of the guards that we had earlier on needed to work on, and it took them a couple of years. She has a knack.
DiGaetano tried for the steal there, and the ball went going out of bounds. Mark Zielinski thought that it would be North Brunswick ball, but Middlesex keeps. But you were saying?
Yeah, so Niall, of course, she gets up the floor very well. A little different, lateral speed, Jasmine Walker versus most players I've seen. She really got up, and she had that little floater. Niall's more of a use the glass type of person, which I appreciate.
Understood.